let's introduce you to Mia. Mia, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, so I'm a management consultant, and although my degree is actually in business, I never really was much to play with the stock market. I just basically threw my money in a 401k and just let it ride. So my knowledge of the stock market was very, very basic. I let's see, I've been doing that for quite a while. And when COVID hit, I started to have, a few concerns about stability with the job market, not so much with me being laid off or anything, but our customers were being hit pretty hard. A lot of my customers are in the aerospace industry, and you guys have seen what's been going on with the airlines. And so that definitely filters down to us, and so I just was feeling really uncertain, and I was looking for another way to make sure I could bring in income.
Okay. So originally, you were already being a consultant and doing what you have to do, and you're looking for another stream of income. So what made you be attracted to stock market and investing? I mean, because there's so many side hustles and stuff like that you can actually do. What drew you to actually trade in the stock? Because a lot of people say, "Oh, it's very risky." Maybe I could do an e-commerce store. Maybe I could sell something like that. What caught your eye with that?
Well, because of my job, it's pretty demanding in terms of the amount of time that I have in a given day. So being able to run my own business was something that, it was very hard for me to think about how I'll be able to dedicate the time. I had a couple of friends of mine that I have been noticing that have been trading for maybe about a year. And one of them in particular was having great success with options. She and I had talked about me doing this before. Um, I had taken a couple of classes with her. She basically introductory type information, but I never did anything with it. I could see the potential, but I just didn't dedicate myself to it. But I continued to see her being successful. And so it just made me more and more curious. So I believe it was March of this year, um, Latrice is a friend of mine, and I posted something on my Facebook page about what I wanted to do during COVID and refocusing my energy and wanting to trade. And she said, "Hey, if you heard of the Profit Room?" And I was like, "No, I hadn't heard of them." She said, "Yeah." She says, she was telling me about you and Latoya, and she was just really excited about the opportunity. And I said, "Okay, send me the group invite." So I sat back in the group and I watched all of the videos that were available on YouTube. So I got more and more curious. And at that point, I was like, "Okay, we're going to do this." I said, "When's the next class?" And she said, "Okay, we're going to do this together." And I said, "Okay." And so I bugged her and bugged her. I said, "Is it starting yet? Is it starting yet?" And so she finally sent me the link to the class, and that's how I got started.
Nice,
Mm.
nice. How did you find the class in comparative to the other classes you took in the past?
Thorough. That's, I guess, if I had to say one word, thorough. I mentioned I'm a consultant, so I build training programs myself. I teach varied audiences, from those who are tech savvy to those who are just starting with some of the applications that we're rolling out. And it's really hard to find a class or design a class that meets everyone where you find them. And I think the one thing that I loved about the Profit Room was that I could see how no matter what your background was, you basically could get something from day one. I also like the fact that it was a forced commitment, having to give up a Saturday. Before, you have a tendency to procrastinate. I told you I thought about this about a year before, but you tend to procrastinate, put it on the back burner. But after you pay the money and you have to make a commitment of a Saturday, of all things, you really are locked in. And I just was more and more intrigued with what I heard. I love the way you two played off of each other. I could always find that nugget that you were trying to communicate. If I didn't get it from one, then the reinforcement from the other definitely brought it home. And the homework, oh my God, I didn't expect to be paying for a class and have to go back and do homework. But that homework is probably been the key to where I've gotten to at this point. The dedication to sit down, look at those charts, look at them for understanding, look at them for potential and opportunity. That definitely set it apart from anything I looked at in the past.
Awesome. Nice. Yeah, the
So
homework is extremely essential to, we feel, to our clients or our students' success in general, because it helps them think through the process rather than Ernest and I just saying, here, do this, do that, and do this that way, and that's it. You're not going to learn that way. You know what I mean? So that was a good like practice per se, to really be able to think through certain situations or certain charts. And yeah, that's one reason why we do provide homework, no matter what course it is.
no,
Yeah,
that's
something?
no. I was just saying, like, I like how one thing we want to focus on is the structure. So, and like you mentioned before, we get people that come in that don't know absolutely anything about trading, because I know you weren't, before this class, you weren't focusing on charts or anything of that nature. Were you technical or anything like, all right, that's
Not at
great.
all. I was looking at whatever was going to run for that day. So basically,
Correct.
I basically, I always was intrigued with how did everybody know to put their money on that stock? Or, I never could figure out what that secret sauce was,
Hmm.
and so the course brought it home so that now I wasn't, it wasn't a mystery to me about why one stock went up and another stock didn't, or why one stock went down. It became really clear to me looking at patterns.
No, that's great. So, like, if you guys are just joining us now, we're interviewing Mia. She's one of our students at the Profit Room. One of the things that she started earlier March this year, 2020, in order to be able to learn how to create additional income. She took one of our classes, and of course, shout out to Latrice. She had an accountability partner to assist, because even in trading, you do need someone, that you can bounce ideas off of. That's why we have the mentorship as well, because sometimes people are by themselves. They need somebody to say, hey, what should I do? And I know between a lot of our students, it's emotional when you're dealing with money, because you don't want to lose, but at the same time, you want the confidence. And basically, having a course, can you say you developed the confidence in order to trade and invest? Because I know that's one of the major things people have, because they're scared.
Absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong, I make decent money, but having to put that money on the line and take that chance, it was really daunting for me. And I'll be honest with you, I finished the classes and I still was apprehensive. But that's when you guys throw us in the room with Don and he gets to beat us up for a couple of weeks. And as he forced us to kind of think through what had been covered in the class and apply it, and then he added on the extra layer of technical analysis, and he stopped me from trading. So I had still been, after the classes, I started playing around a little bit and I was getting a little bit discouraged, but he told us, hey, stop trading, and I definitely was one of the ones that benefited from him telling us that we needed to go in and be able to be profitable on 10 trades, before we ever moved into betting on our own money. And once I did those 10 trades and I started actually tracking them, tracking whether or not it did what I expected it to do, it definitely gave me the confidence to try. But I will say this, there's nothing like betting your own money.
Yes, yes. When did you actually apply real trading? Just curious.
Sure. So I started real trading in April, just playing with it a little bit, some in May. And then I went back into paper trading actually for a little while. Because what I found is once I started investing my own money, fear was causing me to make mistakes. Either I was pulling out too soon, or I wasn't pulling the trigger on a trade that I researched and getting in at the entry point that I researched was the right point to take. So one of the things I'll tell anyone is never hesitate to go back and hone your skills by paper trading. That's really what helped me. So the next time I ventured out, end of May, um, things just started clicking. Things started clicking. I
Boom.
signed up for the notices in the profit room. And the one thing that did is it wasn't so much about the calls that were made and whether or not I was following the group. It was, did you see something that I saw? And when I started getting that confirmation, that's when my confidence went through the roof.
Yes.
Um, if I saw a stock and then Latoya called out a stock, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm onto something here. I'm getting it. I'm getting it. I'm getting it.
Yeah, and I think that's great for you to say because at the end of the day, right? Like we tell our students, if you don't see it for yourself, you will never build the confidence. You will never build the confidence. And that's one of the beauties behind it because it's seat time. Is like we say, education, application, then you see the success. Because there's many a times like Latoya, we're on the phone and she's handling the equities room and I'm handling the futures room or things like that, right? And when you say, hey, I see this setup, okay, I see it too. Boom, confirmation. Because sometimes you just need that, especially when you're trading. But the fact that, like you said, when you see a setup that someone else sees, it just gives you that extra confidence because when you have that confidence, it allows you to start to what we say like level up on the trade. You get a little bit more confidence. Um, One thing I want to mention that I do commend is the fact that, and this is one of our hardest things with certain students. You said you listen to Don, right? Like, and that's
Yes.
the same thing. Like when we tell everyone, and like Latrice brought it up too. When you're in this type of arena, because it's emotional and you're learning something, you have to give of yourself. Like, it's just like having a personal trainer. You may not see it right away, but they have your best intentions. And like other students, they say, I'm gonna listen exactly what you and Latoya tell us to do. And those who listen exactly to what we do have the actual result. You may not understand right away, but then you get it. You're like, oh, it makes sense. Then you start seeing stuff flourishing. And that's one of the things that, you know, because of the social media world and people get impatient, that it's hard for them just to sit back. And I really do appreciate that you mentioned that because sometimes you have to revamp your skills, but you had that motive. So I want to talk about that as well. What has been pushing you even further? Like what has been motivating you behind it? I know you said you want to have a little extra form of income. Is anything else that's driving you?
Um, so it started off by my goal was modest. Okay. I said, hey, if I can make, $200 to $400 extra a week, I did the math. I mean, that's what I do. I do numbers. Okay. And I was like, wow, it's like that'd be, 30, $40,000 extra a year.
Mm.
That's I could do something with that. And so my goals were really modest. But then one thing that you said, Ernest, probably attributed to a lot of my early success. And that was basically once you get in, go ahead and take the profit. And if you have to, leave a runner. And one of the reasons I hadn't been as successful before was that I stayed in too long.
Mm.
Either I got out really, really early, or I was staying in too long until it turned. And I didn't take the profit. And then now you're frustrated and angry because you see all this money that just went out the door, and now you're trading mad.
Mhm.
And I still, to this day, in my head, Ernest would take that money. Ernest would take that money. Leave a runner.
Yep.
Ernest would take that money. So I think
And I think
it's
that's
definitely a big one.
that, and I think that's the when people see a modest goal, like one of our other students, okay, I said just go for $200 a day. Just go for 200. Boom, boom, boom. Then it's coming easy, but before you know it, you don't even unconsciously you're realizing. I get a text, oh, I made $2,000 a day. I said, hold up, you're only supposed to be making 200, but they were so used to taking the 200 but building that confidence. So maybe you're adding a little bit more, your share size went up, but it just naturally happens if you keep a modest way of trading in the beginning. That confident level comes so fast. You're able to level up and start generating more money before you even know it. So, but if you're striving right away, it's just that's all you see. That's just all you see. That's why when, like before, early on, when we was doing this back in 2014, right, Latoya, posting videos of like $2,000-3,000 a day, 4,000. People was like, man, that's not even real. That's not even real. So it was kind of psychological because it's social media. So it's like, all right. So we started, I'm posting smaller profits, like to
Yeah,
get
like
more
Ernest,
realistic.
we got to tone it down. What we got to do?
We got to tone it down. Let's get more of
We
a
brought out
realistic
the what, the
approach.
hundred, what it was,
It
100
was a
a
hundred
day or
hundred a
something?
day challenge. Yeah, we did 100 a day challenge, and we had to stretch those videos out. Like, okay, because we know we could get in, so we buying 100 shares. Doo, 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 we like did a whole video series. It's on YouTube because people didn't realize that you can make that amount of money if you know what you're doing. So because they said, oh, you need a whole lot of money, you need a whole lot of money, but that's the whole goal with trading. You're going to get to a point where you're leveling up and you don't have to be in the trade that long. That's the whole purpose. Like if you can get in that trade and you're out in 10, 15 minutes and it's controlled, why stay? There's no reason to stay in the trade if you have the capital and you have the knowledge and the education. How have you, what I just mentioned, has that come into fruition in your life, Tree?
Oh, absolutely. Latoya will tell you this morning, Neo went on a little run and she'll tell you, I was out. I was like, okay, it hit my target. I'm out. Okay. Dividend is up $8. I'm out. And it wasn't, I hadn't even been trading, not even half an hour.
Mm.
So one of the things I learned early is the way you make more money isn't about taking more risk. It's basically taking those same calculated risks. And then instead of buying 2 contracts, I started buying 4 contracts. Then I started buying 6 contracts.
Mm.
So I did it in multiples. So just like I said, I would leave like maybe 1 as a runner. Okay. So now I would leave maybe 2 as a runner and take 4 off the table, and so that's actually how I started leveling up. And it happens without you realizing it. And there's something about every day taking that money out of the market that just gives you so much confidence. You're like, oh, I
Oh
can do
yeah,
this. Oh, I
yeah.
can do this. Okay, that's another day okay, that's another green day. One of the things I will say probably has made I'm an analytic. I definitely am into numbers. I want to understand whether or not I'm making mistakes. And so early on, I created a spreadsheet and I captured all my trades.
Nice.
So while I might be in the market only an hour, hour and a half, I still spent the time studying myself, studying where I might have
Mm.
gone wrong, studying what my performance was, what time of the morning I made the most money, and really doing a lot of self analysis. And I encourage any trader to look at themselves and their habits because that's where the money is made. Once you see, okay, every time I do this, I'm successful. Every time I
Yeah.
do this, I'm successful. And don't get me
Uh,
wrong, I don't think I am I am still a baby in this. There is also a certain amount of being in the right place at the right time. And I
Mm.
think that that's what the profit room does is it helps you to be there at the right place at the right time. and then hopefully something magic happens. Kodak is a perfect example. I, I'll never forget. I got in this trade. I'm looking at how I gapped open. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, okay, this is right up my alley. Because I like trading options, but I also like trading stocks because it's a really easy multiple. So I got in this trade and it races up and I get caught in the first halt. And that's when I started paying attention to the room. And I saw Latoya was in that trade too. And I was like, oh my God. And I was like, okay, what do I do? And then it races up again, and to this day, I think having that early success is actually what keeps me humble and it keeps me cautious because I literally was in tears trying to get out of this stock. Even though I'm winning, there's just there's the potential that I could lose all this money that I just made, so.
Nah, we thug life it over here.
Joke.
Yeah, don't even talk about that. But see, I like that because
your blood flowing. You're like, oh my goodness.
listen,
I'm gonna make crazy money as long as I can get out, right?
Mia, that's that feeling.
Oh man. And once you get that feeling, oh my God, I was hooked. At that point, forget $400. I want to make 500. I want to make 1,000 a day. After that, my goals just really, my goals amped up, and then I started meeting those higher goals. And it was so funny because you said something on one of the interviews on another of the interviews about treating it like monopoly money. And I realized that's exactly what I was doing. It still wasn't real to me. That balance was growing and I was taking more and more risks. And they weren't as calculated as they had been before. I was starting to get sloppy. And that was because I had a lot of money in the account at that time. And at that point, I was like, wait a minute, Ernest said, pay yourself, take that money out. And I remembered that, and I took a big, large withdrawal. And I went back to trading with a smaller account.
Did you take it out the bank and just start throwing it up in the air? Like, did you dance with the money? Like, yeah, I make this from trading. Yeah, you got to do that one time.
That was Zoom. That wasn't Kodak.
Okay,
that was the Zoom.
Okay, got you. Sometimes you just got to do that. Like, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Definitely with the Zoom, I did a little bit of celebrating.
Yeah, that's it. But I like that you mentioned that confidence just comes from, like I said, that's what makes it so exciting for us. From just march on, taking the education, and you got that. It's the trader's edge. Even though you're still new and developing, you fast track that edge because when you come to the trading platform, the worst thing you can be is not confident. It's like you are who you bring to the trading platform. And like, even though I joke around, I have a good time, Latoya do too, it's just when that market opens up, you just get this like this glow that comes. And like you said, you get to a point where it's like, oh, I got this, because you can't come scared. You have to come with that confidence that I'm gonna pull money out of this market. And hearing you say that, right? And like, you do have your ups, you have your down days, but the fact that you know that you can do it over and over and over again. And the more you do it, the better you can. And more importantly, if you go through a rut and something does happen, you have that knowledge and that data to go back and get yourself out that rut. Get yourself out that rut. And even more importantly, like I say, when you book the profits, there's traders that have to hold on to that trade, right? And they have to hold on it for a long time. Where while they're holding that long trade for like a week or two, a month, you done got in like 3 or 4 other trades and made so much more because you didn't have to hold that. And that's just a different strategy. But that's where I like, because of that confidence level is very, very hard to really get past that. but you can if you just become a student of the market. Student of
I
market.
think you also have to be afraid. You also have to realize that the market's not always going to go your way. I talked about that
Correct.
Zoom trade, and I mean, I made buku money off Zoom. I mean, it was just a ridiculous amount of money. And so I decided to withdraw it all, and I sized down my account. But that next day, I was trading just like I hadn't taken that withdrawal. And before I knew it, I bust my account,
Yeah.
you know.
Mm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
don't want people to think it's all roses. It's not.
Mm-mm.
I totally blew up my CMAG account, and that in and of itself, I learned more from than even the wins that I was having because it
Yeah.
made me humble. It made me realize you're not always gonna win. Even when you win big, you can still lose big.
But
And
aren't you glad you took that money out though, right?
oh my God.
Because the psychological part would have been like, nah, I'm getting back in. I'm better than this. But go ahead, go ahead.
And you know what? You're right, because that is the other thing I've had to really fight against, and that is trading mad. When things don't go my way, I had to literally give myself rules. Okay. 3 trades that don't go my way, and I'm done for the day. If I
Boom.
give back half of my profit for that day, I'm done for the day. No more trades, and you have to really, really, really train yourself, because no matter how confident you get or how great you think you're doing, emotions can take over, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what happened to me when I blew up my account. It went the wrong way. I was angry. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna double down on this. I know it's gonna go the way I want it to go, and you have to really be disciplined. And I put myself back in paper trading for 2 weeks. That was my punishment.
That's your
So
punishment. Awesome. You sound like us. You're right. When we went through the early stages, Ernest and I, like we held each other accountable. All right, if you make this mistake, you can't trade for the rest of the week. It's like, okay. And that's the worst punishment, because
it
especially
is.
you're like, I can't trade for the rest of the week.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
definitely discipline and treat it like a business as well. Your rules are very similar to mine, believe it or not, Mia. As new as you are, that's exactly how we run our trading rooms. Like we'll do about 2 to 3 trades and we cut it off. If they all went right, why are we still there? We're not trading no more. That's it. So rules help keep us disciplined and help keep us at least in the green, because when you overtrade, now you're forcing trades and trying to figure out, okay, what more the market can give, when you have to realize it's not about what more, it's about taking the best setup to have high probability results at the end.
yep. So far, because everyone know, hear from you. How much are you up so far this year, trading?
Oh, wow. So far this year, I actually took a look at it before this meeting, just in case this question came up. So I am up
Mm-hmm.
at 109,000 this year.
Uh, uh,
And that is
talking about.
and that is just since May. So that's
Hey,
not
That's what I'm talking
November,
about. That's what I'm talking about.
Mia, you killed it.
I mean,
Now
you
take.
saw with the Kodak trade alone. I mean, I've just had
Yes.
some amazing opportunities where I was just at the right time. With Zoom, I thought I'd just take, another $5, and I wake up and it's up $50 a share. I
Mm.
didn't, it wasn't my skill. My skill might have put me in the trade, but the market did what it
No,
wanted
but
to do.
but you
This,
always have to. So see, that's where you got to stop. That's where you got to stop. We trade in probabilities.
yes.
Remember that. We never know certain situations, so it could go either way. So as a trader, when you enter a trade, you enter that trade for a reason, not because of a guess, not
Yep.
because of a thought process. So even throughout your trading that you're doing on a consistent basis. So let me ask you, have you made $1,000 a day trading?
Yes, I've probably been making about $1,000 a day trading for about I'd say probably about the last 3 months, definitely since August. Then I
Okay,
told
so
you I blew up my account. So, that's it. Then I put myself back in rehab for a while. But I've
this is
been
why I asked you.
pretty consistently making about $1,000 trading. This morning I stole about 1,800 and called it a day in about 15 minutes.
Mm.
Mm,
The only thing that's a challenge for me is I am in California. So, being a consultant, I do have clients that are on the East Coast. So, I don't always get to trade. Like right now, I'm stuck in a project that doesn't allow me to trade as long as I'd want to in the morning. Um, and that's another thing I want to touch on. You have to treat this like a job. When I started treating this like a job, I wake up at 5 in the morning. From 5 to 5:30, I reviewed my chart and my watch list that I had set up. And I prepared myself for the day. I sat down, I did a little bit of pre-market trading if I was trading small caps, but every single morning I'm up at 5 and ready to trade and ready to start. Once I gave it the seriousness it deserved, that's when I started getting rewarded.
so that's what I wanted to mention. The fact that you're making
Ernest.
consistently. I don't know if you
Did
can
he
hear me now.
fall off? I can hear you, Latoya. I don't hear
Yeah,
him.
I don't hear him.
You hear me now?
No, you have to unplug that.
Let me see here.
Oh, there he is.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
You know.
So the fact that you're making $1,000 consistently over 3 months overweighs the the big winners like
Yes.
the Kodak and the Zoo. So that's why I say you can't discredit yourself, even though the market did push those higher like that. It doesn't change the fact that you're on a consistent basis making that amount of money, which is great, which is
Yes.
great, and that's what we as a trader, like I'm saying, you have to keep that confidence in front of you because not everybody can do that. There's traders now that can't do that because they don't have that confidence in order to do it. And you're sitting there looking at a chart and placing a trade based off of what you actually see going on, and that's amazing. That's just like simply amazing when you see that, and that gets me hyped because that's what I tell people all the time. And like Latoya, we show them all the time is that if you give up, in my opinion, at least 3 months of your life, like outside of everything that's going on around you, the social media, not listening to anybody, and you become a student, once you look at those charts and you see it, can't you see the move happening before it happens?
I do. And and that's why I said the room is awesome. I'm very quiet in there. I rarely comment, but let me tell you, when I see something and somebody else sees it too, and they're there too, it's that confirmation,
Mm,
that I'm where the money was, that I'm where the opportunity was because I saw it. I researched it. That pattern jumped out at me as being something there might be opportunity here. I waited for it to confirm that it was going in the direction that I wanted it to go. And sometimes you leave a little money on the table waiting on that confirmation. But once you get that confirmation, you just jump on it. And when you jump on it, you basically already have in your mind a goal that you want to achieve. And I think that's the other thing that's allowed me to be so consistent in being able to pull money out of the market is every single trade that I get into, I have a back of mind target for where I expect this stock to go. If
mm,
it if it's great and it goes higher than that, awesome. But I can't tell you how much money I've left on the table because in my mind, it was $3 a share. That's where I'm taking the majority of my money. I may leave a runner in there to see what happens, but the majority of my profit I'm taking off the table at a certain level that I saw. I'm not just guessing and hoping that it went up. We talked about Zoom and Kodak, but in both of those instances, I had a target for what I expected that stock to do. But in both cases, it was taken out of my control.
Right.
I probably would have left money on the table if I had been controlling the stick, because I did have a target.
Yeah, that happens all the time to traders. Don't even worry about it. That happens all the time. And there's a trader on here with us that, I told you, see, it went higher. Blah, so it happens. At least don't beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up. That happens
Oh,
all the
Latoya
time.
knows it happened this morning with Neo. I was out at 43. Yeah.
Oh, I heard I heard the wrath. Why you huffing and puffing? So.
Ernest is in my ear, so he hears me going through the emotions of a trade. I'm like, they need to stop playing and break the stock down already, so I can go eat some lunch.
Yeah,
And that's the
I got
thing.
impatient and dipped.
Mm-hmm. That's how you get quiet, like, oh, come on, let this happen. And see, I'm not afraid. I'm on the future side. I'm typing my emotions. Come on, break, stop playing. And all you just see is like, I'm just expressing it, like, come on. Then once it breaks, that's when I get all the memes and because now it's happening because you knew it was going to happen, so that's cool. So another question, what do you plan on doing now? What is some of your future goals with just trading in general and investing? Because I
I
know
think
it can get addictive and stuff like that. So what's your plans?
I'll always be a trader. It's funny to hear myself say that, but I'll always be a trader. Being able to pull that type of money out of the market consistently, I'll always have that as a solid. There's not a morning I don't get up and I don't want to trade. The only thing that stops me from trading is my calendar. So I think at some point I'd like for trading to be my primary income. But I've got a couple of other irons in the fire. I am definitely I believe that I was blessed with this, to be able to put it into something else that I have a passion for. So I've got a new business that's launching probably in the March timeframe, that I've taken that money out. And ultimately I just want to be free. I want to have my own thing. I don't want to have to punch a clock. I don't want to have to worry about if my client on the East Coast is scheduling a 7 o'clock meeting. I want to do my own thing. So ultimately I plan to trade full time.
And that's great. I'm glad you said that the way you said it, because everybody's financial goals are different. Like you could be, like you said, on the West Coast or in the East Coast, or you could be in some place and your expenses is only at 1,500, 2,000 a month, right? That's the beauty behind it. And maybe you don't want to trade every day. You can catch a trade and make $1,000 in a day or within 2 days and take the rest of the month off to do whatever you want to do. You know what I mean? That's the beauty behind it. Not everybody wants a certain lifestyle. Like you trade based off of what you want out of life, and you don't have to, like, we get people who have nice careers or they just enjoy their job. I'm only doing trading for this. I only want to make this. And when they change their lifestyle, they may decide to ramp up. Or you may decide, hey, I'm going to ramp down. It's the choice that you have because you have that knowledge, which is great. So that's one message I want to say to people in the community anyway. You don't have to be a full-time trader. There's some people that only places like 3 or 4 trades a month that do very well, and they just run a business or whatever they have to do because that's what they choose to do, which is great.
You definitely don't have to be full time to pull money out of this market. For the last maybe 3 weeks or so, I've basically been playing the swings that were on the alerts, and I haven't been trading small caps at all because I don't have the screen time in order to focus on them because of the volatility. So you don't have to trade, and that's another thing that stuck with me that you said, you don't have to trade. So even early on, when I said I wanted to make, $200 to $400, I said I only wanted to make it 3 days a week. So that always gave me the flexibility of making money and hitting my goal, even when real life stepped in and I couldn't trade. And in the future, if I don't choose to trade, I feel like I can hit those goals.
No, you definitely can hit those goals because after a while, it's exciting. It comes a sport, especially when you
Yeah.
start getting a better technique at it. And like realistically, every day you don't have to trade. So you find yourself like, towards the end of the year, I'm trading in a long term swing account that I never usually trade because I'm like, I ain't gonna trade in this account. And the thing is, even the same thing, like I'm not trading today. I'm like, okay. And all of a sudden, I'm about to get in this gold short. Like I thought you're not trading today, but that could be a problem too, because you're around it. I mean, we are running a business and a service as well, so it's one of those things where for everybody that's watching and noticing, it's like you use it for what you want to use it for. Just because you see other people doing other things, once you have that skill, the market is not going anywhere at all. The market's not going. If you don't show up Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, like I was telling, talking to Latrice as well, it's going to be here next week. It's going to be here when you get out of paper trading, So if you're learning, it's going to be here 3 months from now. You're not going to miss out on anything. You decide to go on vacation for a month. You come back, get your bearings together and just start trading. That's cool.
I want to mention, you mentioned Latrice. So I just really, let me tell you, I'm grateful to you and Latoya, but I am extremely grateful to her because she basically didn't let up in terms of us taking this course. And even when I was having my early successes, sometimes you don't necessarily want to share that. You don't want people to think you're bragging. You don't want people, people are necessarily, they're skeptical of what you're doing. And I could always jump in her inbox and I was like, girl, let me tell you what happened to me today. You're not gonna believe this. And she was always there. So I tell anybody that's interested in doing this, look at the other students in the class, see who's there that has a similar interest as you. Get somebody that's basically going to hold you accountable and celebrate your wins without being jealous of them.
Mm-hmm.
That alone really just kind of pushed me and pushed me. And when she started having her successes at trading, oh my God, I was so excited. You think I was winning, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I
But
was just that
that's how it
excited
is
for
when you're
her.
working together. That's how it is.
Yeah.
When you're
You
working
know,
together like that, that's how it is.
yeah. So I encourage everybody to, she calls us goal friends instead of girlfriends. I encourage I encourage you to get somebody to do it with you, that's gonna commit, and that is also one of I definitely attribute that to me being able to level up faster than I might have otherwise, is having that type person that understood what I was going through, that had taken the classes. If I didn't understand, said, hey, did you get this? Is this what you got out of that? It's so very important. And David is another one. He'll give me a call. Hey, what you doing in the market today? It's so refreshing to be able to have that kind of conversation, and it pushes you. All of a sudden it becomes almost like a game between you. Hey, what you
Mm-hmm.
doing? What you doing? And so it's definitely adds another level to why I've been able to be as successful as I've been.
And I really appreciate you saying that. That's why, you know, when we do these, it's just like, and it's no disrespect. Every it's just I like to say regular people. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yep.
like I'm not no anybody special. I'm no superstar. Latoya's no superstar. You know, you got people like you said, Latrice, yourself, the gentleman David. It's just regular people who are trying to learn something and build. You know what I mean? And it's not a competition. It's practical information where you can see it for yourself, that you can build what you want to do for your own families, or whatever you have in the future. And I hopefully between yourself and other people that we do this, even like Latrice, people will see something in them like, hey, you know what? I could do this. It's not rocket science or anything like that. It's just applying what I learned, find an accountability partner, and hopefully Latoya and I make people feel comfortable enough to be able to say, hey, I can actually learn how to do this, because that's our main thing with what we're doing. We don't want anybody to feel that they're not getting the information that they need. And most importantly, they have to be accountable for themselves. And yourself and other students are showing that, the information that we're providing is practical for you to actually sit down at the computer in the comfort of your own home and be able to pull money out the market.
Yeah.
Because I could tell everybody, it's not easy. It's not easy to do that. It's more working on yourself and applying information and being consistent at what you do. So that's great. I don't know if you wanted to share any last thoughts, Mia,
Take
because we're
the
gonna wrap up. We don't
class.
want to keep you too
Take
long.
the
Sorry about.
class. That'd
Huh?
probably be the last thing I'd share. Take the class.
Okay.
Don't put it off. Don't think it's something you can't do. Don't think you have to be, you know, you have to have a degree or, because let me tell you, I've got those things and none of them had anything to do with my ability to be able to do this. It's something I had never done before. It was a new skill that I had to learn. I had to exercise, that muscle by going in every single day, applying what I'd learned, but anyone can do it. And when I say anyone, if you can read, if you can sit down in front of that computer screen and scroll through Instagram or Facebook, make a post or two, then you can do it.
Great.
That's 98% of the population, Mia.
Hey, they better go get that money. I'm gonna get mine.
Anything you want to say, Latoya, as we wrap up?
No, she said it all. Definitely. Congrats on your success. That's huge. As
Yeah.
always, I always count the months. I'm like, did she say the end of May and we're only in November? And I'm like, that's significant, impactful, and huge congrats.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and I mean it's consistency. Like I said, the tools that you guys give, you can sit down in front of your computer and you can pull $300 out of the market a day. It doesn't have to be a huge win. You don't have to have that. As long as you show up, and apply what you've learned, you can consistently take money out of the market. And as you gain your confidence, you double that money. The one thing I'll say about Don is he kept me humble. He kept me understanding what's your risk profile. Okay, how much of your account are you risking? He kept that in the back of my mind, so I wasn't risking at all. Even when I was making more, I kept that same consistent risk profile even as I was building those accounts. So anyone can do it.
Yep. No, that's great. So, like I said, once again, Mia, we appreciate that that you came on here, gave you an interview. We are humbled because at the same time, you found something as good and life changing, over 100 grand, and
Oh my
since
God.
April. You know what I'm saying? Like, ah, that's great. That's great. It's life changing because of what you can do, number one, and what other people see that you have done. So it's just like, even though we are instructors and teachers, you did that on your own. And you can't take that away from you. You did that on your own, period. And like I said, I like to thank all our students so far, everyone who's already a part of our Profit Room team that's helping out and doing a lot of stuff. Also, yeah, like you said before, we can't forget about, like, Latrice has been that big cheerleader for us, which is amazing. We got a whole lot of stuff coming up for 2021 as well. But just more importantly, it's just great. It's just great to see stuff like that happens, because now generations after generations, you could build, and you know always being a student of the market. No matter what, you're always a student in the market, and you have a skill that you can trade until you gotta wear glasses like me, like this. But
Exactly. There's no
you
such
see,
thing as retiring.
exactly. That's it. As long as the mouse and the keyboard work, you'll be
Right.
all right. All right, guys, we're just gonna wrap up. We thank for everyone who was able to come and watch. We appreciate that. This video here, of course, will be on YouTube hopefully by tomorrow as well. But we once again want to say to everybody, take care, trade safe, and we'll see you in the profit room.